Hey people, Mark here, and welcome to the first Star Wars video in 7 months. I've been meaning to get back to it, but I've just been so strapped for time. Anyway, we're not going over an Old Republic ship this time, we're going over something that has some actual information behind it. That something happens to be my very favorite Star Wars ship, the Imperial Lancer-class frigate. This is a Legends ship, but it does have some Thrawn ties, so I don't know, we might see it again now. I should clarify when I say favorite, I'm referring to the version you're looking at here. Before I go any further, I just want to say that all the best artwork, like what you're looking at right here, was done by the artist Fractal Sponge. When it comes to making awesome sci-fi ship models, he's basically the sins of the prophets for Star Wars. It's all very, very cool stuff, and I highly recommend you check it out in the description below. Subscribe please, and if you like me, I've got another channel in the description. This ship found its origins in the early days of the Galactic Civil War, months after the Clone Wars, as a part of the shiny new Imperial Navy commissioned by Big Palpy. Once the rebels figured out that Star Destroyers are basically fighter food and started murking them left and right, the Empire knew something had to be done to combat fighters more effectively. Enter Admiral Elon Drez, an officer who pushed for better anti-starfighter measures, leading to the birth of the Lancer-class frigate. Manufactured by Kuat Drive Yards, aka the ones who made all the coolest Star Wars ships, the Lancer measures in at 250 meters long and 57 meters wide. Many of the channel's Halo viewers may be taken aback at how small this frigate is, but it's important to note that Halo ships are fucking gigamungus. This little guy cost 4,760,000 credits, and was used for starfighter screening and supplemented virtually every Imperial capital ship, as Star Destroyers all had the capital scale weapons the Lancer didn't, and in turn they gave the SDs the extra point defense they needed. The Lancer has a hangar bay on its underside that can dock 2 shuttles, preferably of the Imperial variety I'd imagine, and a max cargo capacity of 300 metric tons. It can carry up to 40 expeditionary troops and rations to last from a week to a month. It also had a docking port on the top of its bow for quick entry and exit for the bridge crew. Propelled by 4 engines, it can reach top speeds of up to 4 megalight per second or 240 megalight per hour. This is dwarfed by much of the Lancer's prey. X-Wings alone can reach up to speeds of 960 megalight per hour. The ship's recommended crew size called for 810 crewmen, a relatively large amount, as well as 40 gunners, but the ship could be operated with a minimum crew of 375. Equipped with a Class 1 hyperdrive, among the fastest, the frigate would have no trouble keeping up with its battle group, which is all the SDs need once they jump in and start pummeling enemy ships. The armament of the Lancer-class frigate was simple as hell, but effective. 20 AG-2G laser cannons dispersed evenly across the ship's hull. As we can see from these specimens of the same gun found on the Millennium Falcon, they have no trouble taking out any fighter that gets too close, as well as any kind of missile or torpedo. And that is it, a simple mobile turret platform meant to swat flies. These didn't see a whole lot of use, because most Imperial capital ships stock dozens to hundreds of paper airplanes, TIE fighters, which many officers prefer to throw at incoming squadrons of fighters with varying results. In any case, the frigate saw limited deployment, and some weaknesses cited for it were a slow top speed, as mentioned, and a lack of capital-scale weaponry. Now, I would argue that these aren't weaknesses. In fact, they make total sense to me. The Imperial sourcebook argues that it can't match speeds of fighters is a fault, but what does a stationary screening vessel need to chase down a fighter for? If anything, it prevents overzealous commanders from overextending and getting boinked by capital-scale weaponry. The projected increased deployment of fighters never came, however, and the prohibitive cost made the Empire less inclined to produce any more of these frigates, which was probably the worst mistake they ever made, because if they were a little more worried about fighters, then
Red group, gold group, all fighters follow me.
These things wouldn't see proper use until 9 ABY, that's 9 years after A New Hope. This is Legends, by the way. Grand Admiral Thrawn, I said his name, now I can put him in the thumbnail, made good use of this ship against the New Republic. It's not a surprise that someone with actual tactical prowess could see the use in these frigates when these bumbling gray-shirt buffoons could not. The New Republic made heavy use of starfighters for planetary defense, a mistake that would cost them dearly, as all you really need to do is surround any kind of assault ship with some of these, and I suppose bring a few bombers and fighters along for good measure for any orbital defenses. Several Imperial remnant groups made use of them, but after they and Thrawn were defeated, the New Republic captured many, and used them as the basis for the Ranger-class gunship designed by Corellian Engineering, of which there are no official images as far as I can find, but it continued the legacy of the Lancer while it actually fought alongside them in the Yuzan Vong War. This is my favorite Star Wars ship. My friend called it a butt plug ship, but hey, that's not really a con to me because I like those too. Something about the oblong shape of it and how it's totally unlike anything you'd expect to see in the Imperial fleet, because we're so used to the big wedge shape and and the little panel boys. The heavy emphasis on point defense is something I've always wanted to see more of in Star Wars, mainly because I kinda dislike space fighters as a concept, honestly. But my unhinged rants against fighters will have to come another time, as will Starfield and of course other Halo videos on the channel. I've only got one other Star Wars video on the channel so far, but if you're interested, here's my breakdown of the Imperial Fury class interceptor. Peace.